how likely do you think it is that Democrats in the legislature would consider a new wealth tax, 1% tax on financial assets over $250 million? I know that that's sort of been circulating for a while.
Yeah, a lot of House and Senate Democrats are interested in that policy. I think that's, it's something that, Senator Frame, Representative Tai have been talking about for a number of years.
Does the fact the capital gains tax got upheld by voters sort of give this more momentum now, or open up a door for more of a conversation?
I do think that voters said clearly that they think the wealthiest in our state should be supporting things that benefit all of us, like K-12 education. And I do think that that is a point in favor of considering ideas like a wealth tax. We always want to be sure whenever we enact any tax that we're not taxing things that are highly mobile. We don't want to see tax evasion. We don't want to see people relocate their wealth out of state in order to
like
evade
Jeff Bezos.
a tax. And so I think that with the wealth tax, as with any other tax, we'll be asking what can we realistically expect in collections here. We also have a short-term budget problem, and enacting a brand new tax that is likely to take a few years to get up and running and potentially go through legal challenges is an idea worth discussing, but it's not necessarily a solution to our near-term problem.
Let's talk about what these results might mean for the 2025 session. You were going into a session where, for the first time in a number of years, the revenues are not what they have been. And it sounds like the legislature may be in a budget cutting mode again, or the alternative is, of course, legislators can look for new sources of revenue. Already, there are progressives who are urging Democrats to look at a potential wealth tax or a tax on the sale of high-dollar homes. What do you, coming out of this election, given the Democrats are still very much in control, clean slate of statewide offices, what are you anticipating and expecting?
Well, I have no doubt, and the rumor mill's already out about the different sorts of taxes. You mentioned a wealth tax. There's a payroll tax option out there. There's a B&O tax option out there. There's a REIT tax, property tax. So they're talking about lots of different taxes. Whether they have the votes to do that or not, I don't know. They don't call me to check votes with me. But I don't doubt that they'll be out there. I think that they would be foolish to knee-jerk to that as their solution. When you go back to the operating budget in particular, and we can talk about the other budgets if you like, but the operating budget, and you say, how has this behaved relative to median income in Washington State over the last 10 or 15 years? And what you see is it's doubled. Our budgets for our households have gone up, at a respectable rate. The state budget has gone up at double that rate. I don't know how you look at that very fundamental number and say the answer must be we have to take more money from the folks who are going up at half of our rate. It just doesn't make sense to me. We have a spending problem, and we haven't dealt with it because we haven't had to. We have 7 years of enormous good fortune in terms of our economy. Even during the pandemic, you saw our economy do remarkably well. We should be very proud of that. That doesn't look like that's going to happen this year. That doesn't mean the answer is to load up with new taxes. That's not, in spite of what you see, I think you're overinterpreting the initiatives and the will of the people when you say that, because when I and my colleagues go out and talk to people around the state, they're very, very much concerned about the cost of living in Washington State. And they have an intuitive sense that, whether they pay the tax directly, like in a sales tax or a property tax, or it gets into them indirectly through some sort of overall payroll tax or through a B&O tax, it still affects their cost of living, the cost of food, housing, transportation. They all goes up as a result. So I think we have an opportunity, and yes, it does look like there'll be a significant budget deficit in this cycle. The numbers are uncertain, but $5 to $8 million. That's a 4-year number, but that's on almost a $75 billion budget. There is room in there to look, and we haven't done this really for 6 or 7 years. Gone back and said, what are we paying for with state dollars right now that really aren't delivering services for our citizens? Where are there efficiencies in state government? And I think the voters deserve that we go back and take that look before we decide the first answer is new taxes.
You can check out the rest of the show by clicking on the link below or by watching Inside Olympia Thursday evenings at 7 and 10.